first pleasant surprise for the visitor to the new town of Skelmersdale is that he arrives earlier than he expected. That doesn't surprise the people who built Skelmersdale, though. They planned it that way, in where they built in relation to national communication and also in the town's internal road system.
The model of the town which we use to explain the planning to
Everything in Skelmersdale is planned. It had to be. 10 years ago, there was nothing here but 2 small villages, 10,000 people, and a lot of open countryside. In 1961, the government designated 4,200 acres of this countryside on which to build a new town. The location was well chosen. Skelmersdale, or Skem as the locals economically call it, is strategically set beside the M6 motorway, midway between Ormskirk and Wigan, and less than 20 miles from Liverpool docks, to which it will have direct motorway access. A development corporation was formed in 1962 and charged with the enormous job of building a whole new community. A board of 9 members and a staff of 400 to plan and construct roads, sewers, houses, factories, shops and parks, to liaise with the local and county authorities in the building of schools and the development of services for an eventual population of 80,000 people, drawn from overcrowded Merseyside. This is the result so far. It's not finished, of course, but Skem is on the map, a living, growing reality, and not by accident, but design.
And there's a problem here, perhaps, that it may be a little too large for the buildings around it, I think.
What guided the planners in their transformation of an old mining area in economic decline into the fastest growth point in the northwest of England? I asked Dick Phelps, the general manager of the Development Corporation, what was the most important thing to note about the new town?
To compare it with the typical town that has grown up over the centuries. In the traditional English town, you see a mixture of land uses, you see factories near houses on many occasions, you see main roads and heavy traffic going right into the town centre. The difference in a new town is that you can plan things from the beginning to ensure that you have separate industrial areas, convenient to the residential areas where the workers may live, but sufficiently separate from them so that any problems of noise and nuisance and so on don't impinge on the residential areas. Fundamentally, in terms of the car and people, the motor car has to make the longer journey normally from any 2 points, while the pedestrian route follows the desire line, direct desire line, between the main centres of activity. The town is being built for people, and we've got to keep their needs absolutely in the forefront of our thinking all the time. We do this in numerous ways, but all the time I see it as one of my most important jobs to remind everyone that it is the people that will matter at the end of the day.
The idea of new towns in Britain is in fact an old one. In the 13th century, King Edward I was looking for growth points. In 1515, Sir Thomas More in his Utopia described 54 new towns, which would have been a planner's paradise had they come to be. But despite isolated experiments over the years, it wasn't until the end of the last war that the British government created the machinery which has to date brought 30 new towns into existence. It was a breathtaking concept which has influenced nearly every nation in the world. They send their officials here to look and learn. Visitors to the new towns from home and abroad run into many thousands every year.
Don't forget you're not restricted to the next to 2 spots. If you want to go, and stop them.
Skelmersdale Corporation has learned by experience, sometimes bitter experience, that when all is said and planned, new towns are for people. The corporation is by far the biggest landlord in the town, and it's gone to immense trouble to provide an interesting and varied scene for the people who live in its dwellings. Its architects designed a series of compact housing areas, each with a style as distinctive as its name. The style of building at Pennylands, for instance, is quite different from that at Digmore. And the latest development at Tanhouse also has its own distinctive air. Its white, flat-topped houses clinging dramatically to the hillside inspired some irreverent wit to call it Little Jerusalem, or with a fine impartiality, the Casbah. It all helps to remind the planners that they're dealing with human beings. Planners have a somewhat mixed image in the public mind, compounded of superstitious awe for their expertise, resentment of their power over lives, and music hall jokes about their mistakes. Be that as it may, the men who designed Skem are manifestly human. It shows in their care to make life not only efficient, but pleasant in these neighbourly clusters of houses. The apparently casual settings are carefully designed to reveal a new vista at every turn, a constant change of scene. The system of walkways ensures that children can walk to school or play around their houses safe from wheeled danger. The young mother can rest secure in that knowledge. And private, too. The air is clean in Skem, blown in from the sea 12 miles away. And wherever possible, the living area faces the sun. Each close, grove and court is a cul-de-sac, which bars through traffic, but allows easy access to the family car and the milkman's float. The skyline isn't marred by a weedy forest of TV antenna. Each house has its individual connection to a communal mast. The town is full of thoughtful details like that. The black lines on this walkway, for example, aren't just an architectural fancy. They indicate that this is one of the pedestrian routes leading to town centre, weaving under and over the traffic and across the cloughs, which have been retained as a natural feature of the town. A bewildering contrast for new residents coming to Skelmersdale from overcrowded towns, obsolete houses and treeless streets. They're sometimes confused by the luxury of a pleasant environment and houses built up to and often well beyond Parker Morris standards. It's Russell Milligan, the housing manager, who has to sort out the problems.
What sort of tests do you apply to prospective tenants?
It's quite simple, really. The only qualification is that the family should live in a prescribed area of North Merseyside, which includes Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. And you take a fairly wide spectrum of people. Now, does this raise the old jibe about keeping coals in the bath?
Oh, no, this is rubbish, David. In fact, our tenants maintain their houses in a very good condition. In fact, the level of vandalism in the town is relatively low.
Mm. In fact, the opposite is true, that you're sometimes charged with skimming the cream off the area that you draw from.
Well, just look at this family moving in, David. Any family who are prepared to move here to a new environment are usually the more ambitious and get-up-and-go type anyway.
You provide a fairly wide range of accommodation from little flats up to 7-bedroom houses, don't you?
Yes, we do. In fact, we've even considered knocking 2 houses into one to provide accommodation for a family of 19.
Oh.
And incidentally, sitting tenants do have an opportunity of buying their houses.
Uh-huh.
Yes, please. Please come in, David.
Thank you. Well, that's very pleasant, isn't it?
Well, this is typical of many of the different types of houses that the corporation are building. This is, as you can see, a dining living area,
yes,
which is adjacent to the kitchen here.
Oh, I see, and not really dividing from it at all.
Not at all. In fact, it's proved to be a very popular type of layout.
Mm. And the kitchen itself, that's pretty well laid out for them, is it?
It is. It's very well laid out with provision there. There's a space for a cooker, space for a fridge,
yes,
adequate socket outlets, the working surfaces at the right height,
yes,
the kitchen cupboard provided on the wall and at ground floor level here.
And is this specially designed to sort of work study levels?
It is, yes. It's built to full Parker Morris standards.
Ah, yes.
Oh, by the way, David, this is an additional toilet with wash-hand basin.
Well, that's useful, yeah. Especially for a mother with a young family,
Quite,
again, I suppose.
Quite. And of course, this is the living room. As you can see, the corporation have furnished this room to give prospective tenants an idea, not only of layout, but of the cost of providing furniture. The entire ground floor is covered with plastic tiles.
Yes.
And this provides an acceptable surface without the need for expensive carpeting.
Ah, I see. The bathroom, with another WC, of course.
Yes, and note the extractor fan, which is operated by the light switch. Top of the stairs here, there is a walk-in storage cupboard. And so far as possible in the bedrooms, we provide fitted wardrobes.
Ah, now that's quite a big bedroom, isn't it, really?
Nice garden, too. Somebody's been doing some work down there.
Each new garden is planted with a tree to welcome the new tenant and to encourage a little healthy exercise. And when his toil is done, each weary gardener in Skem can relax in his centrally heated lounge. Oil-fired heating is widely used here. The latest development is an oil distribution system in Tanhouse and Birch Green. The latter is the biggest scheme so far in the public sector and will supply heating oil to 2,300 dwellings through 23 miles of underground pipes. The supply tanks are beneath the grass in Tanhouse and at Birch Green will be landscaped into the hillside. Each home is equipped with boiler and radiators designed to provide both hot water and a room temperature of 21 degrees centigrade in the living area, plus background heating elsewhere. The system can be enlarged quite easily without changing the boiler. There's a time switch and thermostat to make economic use of an already economic fuel. Oil is metered individually into each home to ensure that each tenant pays only for what he uses. The meter box is outside, where it can be read without disturbing anybody. All the tenant has to do is turn on, and he can pay the bill with his rent. Installed at an early stage of site development, this is an attractive system which has a big future. So far, we've mentioned only tenants in the new town, but the tenant can also buy his house outright from the corporation. Private developers are encouraged too. They have built and are building a substantial number of dwellings in various price brackets. Eventually, about half the town will be owner-occupied. This is official government policy. But if it's to be self-sufficient, a new town needs jobs as well as houses. Skem will eventually have to provide 36,000, most of them in industry. Its success so far has been outstanding. But the Development Corporation has had its share of setbacks, and its adaptability has been severely tested. At one stage, there was too much housing and not enough industry. So the corporation changed the rules to allow people to live in Skelmersdale and travel to and from work in Liverpool. Normally, industry recruits its labour from North Merseyside, and the men then move with their families to homes in the new town. Where special skills are demanded but not locally available, the corporation will provide houses for key personnel. It's worth noting that not only is the labour force in this part of northwest England quickly adaptable to new skills, but the town also has a lower incidence of strikes than the national average. Skem is ideally situated from the industrial point of view. The M6 motorway is 2 miles away, with a direct feeder route to the industrial estates. The M58 motorway will provide a fast route to Liverpool docks. The Pennine motorway gives access to Yorkshire, and future plans include the possibility of electrifying the rail link. This unrivaled communications and freight outlet to all parts of Britain is echoed within the town itself, where fast, convenient and safe roads give easy access to the industrial areas of Pimbo, Gillibrands and Stanley, without encroaching on the residential part of the town. Skem being in an industrial development area, it offers attractive financial benefits and grants to incoming firms, as well as a pollution-free atmosphere, a pleasant environment for the workers, and the most modern facilities. Industry has been quick to react to these multiple advantages. Dunlop were the first to come here. Courtaulds have established at Pimbo one of the biggest weaving sheds in Western Europe. And Thorne's new £10 million factory will produce a substantial proportion of Britain's colour TV tubes. But Skem's eggs are not all in a few large baskets. There are some 60 companies here so far, turning out a wide range of products, from nylon tights to traffic signs, from car polish to pharmaceuticals, and a wide range of engineering products. The corporation keeps a variety of pre-built factories available for immediate rental. These, at East Pimbo, have been widely admired by architects and industrialists alike. The nursery factories have proved very successful, with the small firms and one-man businesses they were designed to encourage. They vary in area from 2,000 to 6,000 square feet. 3 companies which began in these nursery factories have already expanded into larger premises in the town. Factories and houses are only half the story, of course. People also need the 101 sports facilities and social organizations which make up a living community. That is the concern of Norman Pritchard, the Social Development Officer.
Yes, I and my colleagues spend quite a lot of time giving support and help to organisations which the town will eventually establish, which it takes a while to establish, and we try and give our help to getting these off the ground more quickly than they would otherwise happen of their own accord.
Mm-hmm. What do you provide in the way of bricks and mortar for these organisations?
In each of the residential areas, we try and provide a meeting room, a fairly small meeting room, which provides for family parties, for bingo and wish drives, for meetings of all sorts in the immediate locality of the houses. And then there are other buildings in the town, and particularly one like this, the building we're in now, which is Quarry Bank, which was originally an old stone house bought by the corporation, used by us as a meeting room, or meeting rooms. And in the last year or so, we've extended considerably with the help of a grant from the Carnegie trustees. Mm-hmm. This gives us a building in which a whole variety of things can take place. Often there are as many as 6 and 7 different functions run by some of the town's organisations in the building at any one time. The corporation were instrumental in getting this scheme off the ground, and now it's a going concern. It is being run by a voluntary organisation, the Quarry Bank Community Association.
You were talking earlier about religion. What kind of facilities do you provide for this aspect?
Ah yes, now this brings us to a scheme very close to my heart. Let's go and see the model. This is a model of the Ecumenical Centre. It's a unique project. It's the only one in the country we know of where 5 separate denominations have decided to pool their resources and build one building for all their activities, which otherwise would take place in 5 separate establishments.
The main area is for the worship and social activities of all the denominations. In addition, there's a lecture theatre, library, and interview rooms for social workers and clergy. There's a smaller chapel here, and this in the front is a coffee bar and lounge, which doubles during the day as a club for the many old people who live in the area. A remarkable example of Christianity in action. The list of social needs is long and grows with the town. Commerce, for example. Traditional corner shops were provided early on, followed by small shopping parades like this one at Digmore. Pedestrians can walk freely through the covered mall, and delivery vehicles have easy access to the rear of the premises. There's plenty of parking space and a playground where the kids can let off steam while Mum does the shopping. For some, pubs are not only an important but a vital amenity, and Skem is well provided with both old and new. But large-scale commerce can operate only when the population is big enough to support it. That point has now been reached, and an ambitious town centre is now going forward here, adding administrative buildings, offices, and shopping blocks like this one to the town's facilities. This block is air-conditioned. Under the shopping floor, there are storage areas and access for trade vehicles. There's a multi-storey car park and a bus station, all under one roof. Education is, of course, one of the most important social needs, especially when 35% of your population is under 15. Many schools are already in existence. The 2-campus high school of Glenburn and West Bank is an excellent example of the cooperation which exists between local, county, and development authorities. The magnificent range of facilities here are used by the whole community. This arts theatre, there are 2 of them, each seating 250, is used by the school in the daytime, and after school hours and during school holidays, the townsfolk use it.
And there's
This concept of full community use extends to the fine swimming pool, the sports halls, and gymnasiums. Even classrooms are taken over at night for adult education. The taxpayer is getting good value for his money at Glenburn and West Bank. Sports facilities are important too in a new town. A sports centre would have been costly to build from scratch, so the corporation took over a site contractor's building and for a modest sum equipped it to excellent standards. Every week, 1,800 people pay their 10 pence and push through those turnstiles to enjoy any one of half a dozen sports. Skem has more space and opportunity for leisure than any town of comparable size. The corporation exploits them fully, as in the park, now being laid out along the valley of the River Tord, which runs through the town. And above all, on Ashurst Ridge, with its beacon looking over towards the sea. Here there'll be playing fields, a golf club, and open parkland to be enjoyed by the townsfolk. Among all the varied amenities it's provided so far, the corporation is perhaps especially proud of the millions of shrubs and trees it's planted. No commercial source could cope with this sort of demand, so the corporation set aside 70 acres for nurseries, and they will continue to produce the flow of colour and texture that gladden the eye and refresh the heart at every turn. Even on the industrial area, nature is encouraged to soften the works of man. The shades of the North's dark satanic mills are being dispelled forever in Skem. This will be a green and pleasant land. Man has lived and worked on this land for centuries. He mined its coal right up into the 1960s. The new town is one more chapter in an old history. As Dick Phelps says,
our task as a development corporation is a temporary one. It's to build the town, complete it as quickly as possible, and then go away. And if at the end of the day, when we go away, the people that are here are not happy, then we've failed.
There's no sense of failure in this scene. It is these children who will write the continuing story of New Skelmersdale.